Good afternoon, and this afternoon I am playing with Basket of Blooms and the little punch that goes with that basket of balloons. I was just playing with bases in the night. That's not actually a card base, is it? So I've got my bits and pieces out and I'm doing a kind of double whammy. I have popped a colour challenge onto my Facebook page for you to enter. So what I thought I would do is I would create today in my interpretation of that colour challenge. So those are the colours that I've chosen: Coastal Cabana, Granny Apple Green, Gorgeous Grape, Melon Mambo and Cherry Cobbler. So we will see what's what there. So that's my inks. I've also got my pencils to hand. Now these are watercolour pencils. If you don't have watercolour pencils, you can use standard pencils, and I won't be using the kind of watercolour element of it until the final card. So I'm going to start off with a kind of more basic simple card, and then we're going to step it up as can be seen in the catalogue. So this is on page 48. So the great thing with the catalogue is it gives you lots of ideas of cards that you can make on every page of the catalogue with every one of the cards. So I've got that as a kind of little guide. I'm just going to... So casing is copy and share everything. So to case something, copy and share everything. Or copy and selectively edit, up to you how you kind of classify it, but essentially I am using the catalogue as a guide today. So what I haven't got around to doing is cutting some... So I love my shimmery white, so that's going to be my base for inking. I am using white card bases. I've just discovered one of them isn't in... Actually, it'll be alright. One of them isn't in the thick that I've actually noticed. That will be alright. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use it. Going to have create a thick. I do just prefer the thick card as a card base. So bear with while I grab one of those, because I need an extra card base in white. So again, when cutting card bases, you can use any cardstock, and the two measurements to remember, I'll get those leaves out of our way, are 10.5 and 14.9. So it entirely depends which way round you want your cards to be. So in this instance, I'm going to cut at 14.9. Put that to one side. And I'm then going to use my scoring blade at 10.5. So 14.9, 10.5. So you cut in one and score in the other. So because I cut at the wider and then scored at the shorter, I get a more traditional card base. Hi Ali, hope you're well. So that's the additional card base I need. And because on the cards I am using a bit of DSP in the background, so this is from the 6x6 designer series paper in the coordinating papers, easy for me to say on a Friday. So I'm going to cut those bases. So the card is 10.5, so I'm going to cut them at 9 by 13 point. Just double check that should be, yeah, so I'm giving a good kind of surround so that you can see the base, the papers underneath. So the paper, the DSP I've cut at 10 by 14.4, so I'm cutting the bases. I might do this one 8.5 by 13.9, so cut 2 centimetres off for the second card. We'll see how that works out, and then I'll decide what I'm doing on the final card. So I'm going to use a couple of techniques here. So I'm going to use the masking technique, which basically yeah, I'm good, thank you. I would say I'm looking forward to the weekend, but currently, because I'm furloughed, there actually isn't any difference, but hopefully you're looking forward to the weekend. Although I think the weather's going to be slightly nicer. So standard post-it note, so you've got that slightly tacky piece. Stamp the image that you want and then cut it out. So I have already cut one out. So essentially I've now lost my... So I have decided that my little plant pot is going to be in Coastal Cabana. So just light tapping. And I'm going to place it... I'm going to leave a little bit of room for a greeting. Haven't decided on what greetings I'm using currently, because Basket of Blooms doesn't actually come with any greetings in there. So that little mask that I made earlier, once I've stamped that on, I'm just going to pop that over the top. And then I have in my Granny Apple Green, got a variety of leaves, so I thought in the catalogue they've just used one of them, but I thought I'd give it a little go with using several. So I'm just going to pop one there, but by masking the pot it's going to look like these things are coming out of the pot, not that you've suddenly got a stalk that you can see, as it were. And there's this little leaf. Oh no, I think I might pop another one of those there. And one of these. So I'm not so worried about these overlapping, because I'm going to kind of colour these. I'll just have one popping out over that side. I think that will get us started. So get those out of the way. Close my Granny Apple Green. We don't want Granny Apple Green everywhere. Now, because I've chosen Melon Mambo on for the card base, I'm going to, in this instance, so, oh sorry, I should take the mask off. When I take that mask off, ta-da! Little bits are in the pot without any problems. I've now loved it there. So I'm going to stamp some of the flowers that I'm going to punch out. There's 2 different designs in this set. I guess perhaps what I should have thought of is which direction the punch was in, but I think we'll be alright. I think we'll have the flexibility too. So with the little punch, we literally line it up. Hopefully you can see there that I'm lining that up, and then punching it out and it goes flying. There it is. So there's one little flower and 2 little flowers. So say hi if you are watching, whether you are live with me, and I appreciate it is lunchtime, which may or may not mean that it's your lunchtime, as it were, if you are at work. When you're furloughed, it's kind of a bit more fluid. Can't believe it's Friday already again. So essentially what I'm going to do with these, as they have in the catalogue, is kind of offset them. And I'm going to pop, I might just pop one on. So I'm going to take my pencil. So obviously the stamp for the plant pot didn't have any kind of inking in. So technically this pencil is actually a Bermuda Bay, but as I say, any ink, any pencil will work. This is a watercolour pencil, but any pencil that you have will work. And I think I might do a bit of a hash pattern, kind of just follow that around. Might keep it fairly, kind of have a bit of a shadow to one side of it, but oh, we're in Linda's kitchen. Lovely. What's for lunch then, Linda? What are you making us all? Hope you've got enough for everybody. Quick delivery across to Leighton Buzzard, you'll be fine. As we've got Lizzie watching as well. Lizzie's in Kent, so you might have to go a little while to catch that. So I've put a little bit of colour onto the pot, and I'm going to add some of the Granny Apple Green. Oh, chicken and falafel salad, nice. Happy with that. Look forward to that, Linda. Ours isn't going to be quite as healthy. David's going to be cooking sausages. So we've got some part baked rolls. So we're going to have a nice crusty roll and a sausage sandwich. Got him some, he does like a Gloucester Old Spot. So again, just colouring in the leaf as much or as little as you wish. I'm wondering whether that could have been a... I'm thinking that was a leaf, but I'm thinking it could be a bud. I'm thinking that's supposed to be a bud. Anyway, you can interpret it yourself if you have the set or anything similar that you can do this with. So just thinking I could have made those into little... Which I still could. I've got a little bit of... I'm doing the melon mambo flowers. I'm just going to add a little bit of colour to those as if they're buds. Whether you agree with me or... Teleport some over. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, if only. Although to be fair, I'm not going to share my sausage sandwich, so perhaps you don't want to. Do swapsies of lunch. God, wouldn't that be handy if you could just teleport stuff around? So what I might, the only thing I might do, actually I'm going to add a bit of, I'm going to leave that one fairly plain to pop there. I'm going to add a bit of melon mambo. As I say, I am using the watercolour pencils, so on this particular card I'm not going to use them. I'm going to use them as a standard pencil. Hopefully whoever gets the card won't throw water at it to activate the watercolour element of the card. That could be slightly disastrous. I think I might add a little thing in the centre of that. Somewhere along the line I do have handy my corner punch. I'm going to round off all four corners, I think. And then I'm going to add a simple greeting. Might use the same set I used yesterday. I didn't think about greetings until just now, but I have. Oh, how about using Itty Bitty Birthdays? Just a very simple, how about a very simple, where's my happy birthday? There's my happy birthday. Nice simple happy birthday across the bottom there, and a little flower there in its simplest element, and then mount it onto that background. And the envelope we could decorate with a few of those flowers. I think that is the way it's going to go. Haven't got a spare block that I can reach without making a big old mess. Oh, I need to put that on the cross. So it's always a case of finding the block that fits closest to your stamp. So just stamping straight onto the card in this instance, so keeping this one much more simple, although I do think we need a little flower centre, don't we? I might take a little bit off the top and bottom, take half. I think I can probably do half a centimetre off the top and the bottom, and just re-round those corners. I just think that will look a little bit better. I don't think I need to do it on the sides. And then when I go back in with the corner punch, that should re-round off those corners. Like that, we just get rid of those little teeny bits. And actually I'm also, so any type of sponge, just going to add a little bit of colour around the edge. Oh hello, I've got a bit of paper that's just fallen off there. So to keep it just literally around the edge, I'm going pretty much just straight down. If you want to add more, you can tip it slightly, and then you get more on the face of the card. So that's the joy of sponging. As I say, it'll work with any sponge. Just edge around that as I went in a little bit further. Just going to go around again. Let's get ourselves into the light. Doesn't need to be absolutely accurate, but I think what it does is it just makes it pop a little bit in the card from that card base. So I'm going to use, here's my favourite snail. I've ordered some, well I haven't ordered it yet. I've got a little basket developing. Hi Nicola! And some of the new tape is going in that little basket, and I think I'm going to use, if I've got them handy, and I have, a little glue dot on the back of these little flowers. So I've left one kind of fairly plain as stamped, and then I added a little bit more colour to the one that's on the top. So the glue dot is just slightly thicker than tape, so it just gives us a little bit more. Do you know what I should have done? I'm not going to be able to get that off now. It's really useful if you want to create a little bit more of a realistic flower, to use your bone folder to curl them. I'll make sure I do that on the next one. So that is kind of pretty simple. So that's based on the first one that is in the catalogue. As I say, catalogue gives us lots of really useful ideas. So the next one I'm going to do, so if you were a little bit more expert in crafting, wanted to add a few more little elements, I've kind of done the DSP in the background, just two different types. I'm going to stick to the same colour way. I'm going to shorten that slightly. I'm take an extra centimetre off, because it's what it's always nice to do, is to be able to see. Oh, fingers and thumbs. That, so that I'm using the kind of, hold on, the other side of that one. Oh, I've cut it the wrong way for the writing. So the writing, I do like to have the writing the right way up. I'm going to pop those both coming off the edge, and then that is going to go in the centre there. Actually, what I might do is let's introduce some of the gorgeous grape into the mix as well. So I'm going to keep my little pot in the Coastal Cabana. So yeah, the little colour, the colour challenge that I popped on my page, they aren't specifically Stampin' Up colours, so it just means that you can use your interpretation of what colours, base it on what colours you've got, but it's just a little bit of an inspiration to maybe think of colours that you might perhaps not normally use. So I went Coastal Cabana, Granny Apple, Gorgeous Grape, Cherry Cobbler, although I may end up not using the Cherry Cobbler, and Melon Mambo. So this one might just use the bigger leaf there, and maybe there. I do quite like this long one. Just put one up the middle there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step, oh I know what I forgot to do on that one. I'm going to step it up a little bit and use more of the flowers, and I'm going to do, I've lost my little, there we go. So this is why I keep little scraps, because they're absolutely brilliant when you're doing little flowers like this, because it is a photopolymer and I have used the Melon Mambo. I'm just stamping. You really do need to make sure that your photopolymers are good and clean. I just have a wet chamois. Gosh, I've still got colour coming from that. So they are a really good quality photo polymer stamp. And oh no, my Gorgeous Grape is there. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to do a few different types of flower, and I'm going to use a combination of, that was a little bit wet still by the looks of it. Yeah, we won't use that one, that's run in the ink. Let's make sure that one's a bit drier. Might be quite nice to have a little combination of having Gorgeous Grape and, should remember the punch is more straight up, so I should try and make my life slightly easier. So I'll probably need another Melon Mambo. Try and do that slightly straighter, and then use this one. Just stamping it off just to get rid of the excess ink there. So let's see how that goes. Where's my little punch? So it's just a case of lining up your punch. I'll put my hand over it this time so it doesn't go flying across the room. Luckily I found it quite easily, but you never know with these things. Oh, no problem, Linda. Thank you for joining. Enjoy your chicken and falafel salad, if you haven't already gone. Whoop. See, flying, got flying flowers. So it's just, I've positioned that slightly oddly on the paper, but obviously the paper can move, so that's not a problem. I'm not going to use that one that was a little bit too wet. So I'm going to add a bit of extra colour. Should we get rid of our mask? So again, the thing I absolutely love about Stampin' Up is colour coordination. So I've got my gorgeous grape watercolour pencil. Although in this instance, I'm only going to use it as a watercolour pencil on the last card. So any pencil at this point will be absolutely fine. But because the colours all coordinate beautifully. Melon Mambo. I'm not taking the colour all the way to the edge. Actually, what I might go against what I just said. So I'm going to put the I need to colour that bit in as well. So I'm going to put the pink on top of the purple. Gorgeous grape from Melon Mambo. What I'm hoping is that somewhere around here, I know I haven't got any water in my new pens. I've got a slightly finer one than that. So the new, no, that's too big. That's better. So in the new watercolour brushes, we get 3 widths, so there's a really wide one. But what this allows me to do by wetting that is just take that Melon Mambo right out to the edge, but much, much paler. Which I kind of think is what happens in nature. Flowers rarely, I mean, correct me if you don't agree. But yeah, I'm just wetting it and pulling that colour out to the end. As I say, the new they're not actually called aqua painters anymore either, I don't think. But yeah, there's a lovely broad one, so that if you were doing a big area, you could get some fantastic effects. So they're all slightly different, which is cool. So I will take my granny apple again. I'm going to do a similar sort of thing. Now I'm painting, I'm going to paint. I might just add some more embellishment to this card. So it's just really showing that there are lots of ideas in the catalogue, and you can use that as a kind of loose basis for what you create, and that's called casing. So I'm also kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So on my page I've got a little challenge using these sorts of colours. So there's a colour palette there. What I'll do is I'll make sure I go onto my laptop and pin it to the top of the page. And then also in another group that I'm in, there is a challenge to copy something from the catalogue, so case something from the catalogue. So I shall submit one of these for that. quite handy to kind of kill two birds with one stone. But yeah, so I can just, with the water paint, I can just pull out the colour slightly, and shimmery white is generally slightly better. One for that. So also, whilst I was using Coastal Cabana, there isn't a Coastal Cabana pencil, but there is Bermuda Bay, which is a slightly darker colour, so I'm kind of keeping that slightly lifted, so kind of not being overly exact about what I'm doing, but keeping it slightly more shadowy on one side. I can hear, hopefully you can't hear David. He's growing a beard in lockdown, and he's, for some bizarre reason, he's bought himself a frock coat. There's no accounting for the strange things my husband does. That's the joys though. So you can just see by using the watercolour brush, or wet brush even, just pulling out that bit of colour. So let's just a little waft. Oh no, don't do that, Marie. Don't waft when you have wet paint or wet ink. Take some of that excess off. We managed to avert disaster there. So again, I'm going to use the glue dots. So really simple little way of popping a bit of glue, and I need to remember to, on the top ones, I'm going to pop my bone folder in front of my nose. So I'm putting the gorgeous grape one. I am going to put one in a similar position to I did on the first card. So these are the sorts of things you can just kind of create really simple cards, or you can start stepping up by adding more and more embellishments and bits to cards. So literally with a bone folder, it's just taking those edges and just curling them up slightly so that when it goes onto the card, it's got a little bit more of a three-dimensional element. Actually, in this one I might use the same greeting. I'm going to use that same happy birthday, but I am going to do it in the gorgeous grape. So just, sorry, I was doing that off camera there, beg your pardon. So I've coloured them all in, but they're all slightly different, which is absolutely fine because nature's like that. And so I'm just going to offset it slightly so there's two colours visible. I don't know how I'm going to cope as and when I go back to work. I'm not going to be able to speak. Never mind all my proper dental terminology. So just adding those little elements, then we'll add our little happy birthday if we knew where we'd put it. We'll put it there. So a quick wipe on the chamois. And using the gorgeous grape, so it's just a little bit more colourful. Close that off. So these two pieces of DSP I am going to tag on with a bit of glue because I want to be able to move it slightly when it's in position. So problem with snail is you really don't have a second chance. So the wet glue at least will give me a second chance. So kind of placing it where I kind of want, but you can see I've got a little bit of movement for a short period of time there. It's quite fun just to, I didn't do my glues last night. Might have to be a weekend job that. These are so close to the end of the bottles now. So, oops daisy, bit of glue on the trousers. So again, I'm going to put this kind of at the opposing sort of angle. Don't mind it going off the edge of the paper, and because we've used wet glue, little bit of wriggle room, and then that's going to sit on the top so that you can see both of those, which I'm happy to do this one in snail because I don't. Oh. I hopefully don't need wriggle room. Oh,
it's 13.
Sorry about that. I've got a webinar at 2 o'clock. Not a webinar. I've got a team meeting at 2 o'clock. So that it's just reminding me I'm getting close. So I have taken slightly more of your time than I intended, certainly. So essentially, on this one, which I've now lost my scissors as well, they're under there. I don't know how I work in such chaos. I wonder if I find anything. There we go. So this will need to be the last one for today. I was hoping to show you the kind of next step up, but as I say, it's essentially casing from the catalogue. So the next step up just adds those additional flowers, which I had created. I was going to create a little mask for those flowers, so those flowers would be the first thing that went on. Then I would have stamped the leaves, then added those extra flowers. Oh, and the only other element that I could use is, I'm not going to do it right now because there is a lovely little like kind of bow that goes around the pot. So I thought that, but the paper's too wet at the moment, but that little bow I will probably add. I've now got glue on the front of my card. When that dries, not a disaster because we can just use I'll wait for that to dry properly and I will use my glue rubber for that. So there you go. So essentially 2 quick cards, one keeping it relatively simple, so just using the crayon, the colour pencil as a colour pencil in that instance, and then I've used the watercolour element of that on that one, so I've just got to tidy up that glue dot. And then, you know, the ability to use DSP in 2 different ways. So there's more colour to that one, more DSP, bit more angles, no accuracy required in the cutting, but yeah, all good. So 2 cards today. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. All right, take care of yourselves. Bye.